Deleted session, February 21, 1972. Now, you see how softly I can speak. Ralph said, yes. Seth said, again, let me start off in my own fashion. You personally have been gravely perturbed because of your job for some time. You tried to shove the discontent aside, hoping that you could continue it to practical beneficial ends. You were to some extent outraging a portion of your being, for whatever reasons. The basic discontent colored your other attitudes, both toward your environment, your own work, and other people. It became, relatively now, a displayed discontent. You felt that there was nothing you could do about the situation, that there was no reason to worry about it. But the anxiety was displaced then, draining your energies. Now, we are speaking comparatively here now. You understand. Ralph said, yes. Seth said, when you begin devoting your time to your painting, you will be satisfying, then, a deep need of your being, and therefore energized. You will feel personally that you are solving problems that you are meant to solve. Problems that are nevertheless created challenges having to do with the nature of painting. Problems then and the challenges that you consider quite worthwhile. This will give you a much more optimistic attitude in general. Personalities are as diverse and unique as flowers or fish. There is no need to compare one type of personality with another than there is to compare a toad to a bird, or an ant to an elephant. It does help, however, if you understand that birds must fly if you are a bird. It does help, for example, if elephants do not try to build ant hills. So there is no need to compare personalities in a judging way, merely to know your own. Rupert's energies will be released in the same way. I am sure that you appreciate the encounter that took place the other evening, under my auspices. What was said should show you that Rupert's condition also became the focus of your combined discontent, the physical picture of it, the energy to maintain it, almost in direct proportion to your combined discontent, was composed of the displayed energy not put into your prime purposes. This is difficult to verbalize precisely. I understand. I thought Seth was doing very well. Seth said, build up my unsolved problems, a concentration upon your individual and combined work. Your practical plans in that direction will promote an enthusiasm that you have not felt jointly or individually in years. You have known that you are on the right track. The symptoms, therefore, will be released as the energy or concentration is placed back where it belongs, into creative and practical action. You felt as if you could not move also, and before Rupert's symptoms began. You felt this psychologically. Do you follow me? Ralph said, yes. Seth said, your discussion this evening was beneficial and showed a point in progress on both of your parts. Earlier, Rupert would have become alarmed and frightened, felt you were being negative, and discouraged at any verbal and emotional encounter with the feelings that you expressed, precisely because they brought into the open feelings of his. This time, however, he recognized that earlier he would have brooded and gone to bed, leaving you to brood alone at his ways. The ordinary fears connected with any such discussion should be discussed. Only in this way are they faced, encountered, and cast aside. They do not grow then in secrecy and gather charges. Do you want a rest? Ra said, No, I am okay for the moment. Seth said, the change of environment has been and is good for both of you in ways you may not presently comprehend. A few you glimpse. It is obviously good for you to look at the world simply from a different viewpoint. It is particularly good that you see the situation here in Florida, on the spot, so that you feel free in making choices. A real Florida, not a fantasized one. Your journey will also allow you to perceive your environment when you return in a fresher light, and your circumstances there. A point, if you do not want a breakdown. Concentration must not be on Rupert's symptoms, underlined many times. A point now that I want you to heed in advance. In the past, because of joint negative attitudes, I have given the reasons for some of these. Improvements in Rupert's condition were ignored largely by both of you, and instead, concentration was upon the symptoms that still remained. After the first bad bout, for example, when he improved enough to go up and downstairs without even limping, when he was agile enough at least to climb some rocks at a glen, to swing after being largely incapacitated, you both acted as if the improvements meant nothing, discounted them largely, and concentrated upon those symptoms that did indeed still remain. I am not saying that he was completely better then, but the improvements far outweighed the symptoms at that time. Do not let that happen again. That was the result of discounting improvements as they did show themselves, and this applies to both of you. Now, I will give you a break and continue. Now, tell him what I said later. Rob said, okay. Seth said, you chose to do what you did, individually and jointly. In narrow terms, you can say that you both made a mistake. In larger terms, no error was made. You simply happen to be dealing with the area of activity in which terms like mistake appears valid. Do you follow me? Rob said, yes. Seth said, practically speaking, while you had any kind of a job you were ill at ease and off balance. You compared your lot with that of others who had jobs also. There was only a difference in degree. Your own attitude was partially set by your father's innate and quite strong sense of independence. He hated to work for anyone else. The same applies to Rupert's background, mainly with his grandfather. You would have felt freer had you tried to freelance. For freelancing. What it would have produced don't range its own problems would have allowed you a greater sense of freedom. Here you were influenced, where Ruber was not, toward a job because of ideas of security that came from your mother. And despite your conscious evaluations from the activities of your brothers, your having a job made sense to you, therefore, for these reasons, more so than it did to Ruber, who had no such countering influences. Now, give me a moment. The entire environment concerning your brothers' homes and the implications always upset Ruber, for he sensed that influence. I want to anticipate then that uprush of energy you will most certainly feel. The problems that beset you were so aggravating precisely because in a sense they were not your natural set of problems. You always have the energy and the means to meet the deepest needs of your own personality, but not to meet the needs of other kinds of personalities. Now, I will tell you something else. You felt that you owed it to your mother to try a secure type of financial arrangement, as far as you were personally able to do so. You realized that a full-time job was out of the question. Remember at least that you did not fall into that trap, and that you both had enough sense to avoid it. The type of commercial art you did as a young man was not the answer, but served many purposes. It gave you prestige and money. It gave you practice, but beyond the point that you pursued it, it could have frozen your abilities. The prestige and money tied to your mother's hopes could have led you into other channels of commercial art that would have led you completely astray as far as fine art is concerned. To you, a part-time job helped compensate. You feared losing status in your family's eyes by casting yourself completely aside into areas alien to them. You also felt that this would equate you in your mother's eyes with your father. She, your mother, went with the mainstream. Your father did not. You did not want to hurt her feelings, particularly in the beginning. Your mother did think of Ruber as a threat, for she recognized at once that Ruber would not encourage the tendencies that she herself respected. All of this I tell you, because it should help clear up some of the reasons for your actions. Besides Ruber's natural leaning, in course, characteristic dislike of families then, there was the outsider's argument, and you were often put in the middle. Your family to Ruber was one of society trying to make you toe the mark. Hence, his often exaggerated reactions. As you know, spontaneously Ruber would state your position to your family as a symbolic statement to the world at large for those reasons. What you do in that regard is not nearly as important as an understanding of your attitudes. The basic problem, in quotes, again, therefore, has festered, gone underground in the past. It was obviously one born from your basic creative natures. A challenge rather than a problem, but one that was interwoven with all kinds of social and economic and family connotations. Finally, your way of life became not a symbol of what you were, as it was for a while, but more largely a symbol of what you did not want to be, jointly and together. Robert did not have, again, those influences working on him that worked on you to prolong the situation. Danger signals only too apparently showed with you, as soon as you accepted full-time work. They became unbearable, and quite the course quickly. The part-time course filled some of those other mentioned subsidiary needs, however, so these you found more bearable. Robert also, of course, knew this, as he knew about your curly-headed friend the other night, and he reacted vehemently, particularly against your parents, to help support your mother, particularly in the beginning under the situation as he sensed it. And with all of his other anti-mother sentiments, was the greatest of outrages. This is another reason for his actions on the Sunday visits. Hopefully, this will help you both understand. You can have a break, or I will continue. Ralph said, "We'll take the break." They said, "Now, we will shortly close. I want to remind you, however, that I went to considerable pains to give you some of the important reasons why you both had a tendency, a strong one, toward repression. Why Robert began by repressing unpleasant ideas, and why you initially began by repressing helpful ones." Ralph said, "Yes, I know it. This material is at home and will be reviewed when we get there." They said, "Now, if you understand the reasons and do as I have suggested, then you will be involved with the real issues, not basically superficial ones, like why does Robert have trouble going down the step?" Ralph said, "Yes." This had been a question I had mentioned for tonight. They said, "That becomes merely another symbol for the inner difficulty. Do not concentrate upon that." Ralph said, "I don't know we are, now." They said, "Part of the difficulty is that it has become a symbol of Robert's disabilities at this point. At home, the stairs are the symbols. After working one day, Robert expects instant results, that there have been results. As you begin to make your own work plans and work, this will also generate results. Remember the encounter," Ralph noted, "of February 19. They said it was with a part of both of your personalities, not only Robert's. I suggest that you do some sketching. Now, as you progress, our sessions can also be freed for other endeavors. As the natural flow of your energies returns to your work, so will greater energy be released in the session as well. The part of the sessions in your lives as applied to your Amara existence so far will be covered at another time. Obviously, there is a connection, you see. And now, I bid you a fond good evening." Ralph said, "Good evening, Seth. Thank you very much. Good night." They said, "I could come through far stronger, but I do not want to frighten the natives." Ralph said, "I understand. It's appreciated." They said, "Remind me at our next session to say something about spontaneity and scheduling, as applied to your daily lives. Robert does not like scheduling from without, applied from the outside, in our words, and neither do you. Rob said, "All right,